A beloved store owner, the victim of a brazen attack.
The shopping center would have been teeming with people.
Leaving his family filled with sorrow and pain.
He'd been stabbed, as it turned out, about 8 times. At least one stab wound went through the heart. That was the fatal wound. Something like this can happen almost right under your nose.
A critical clue was left behind.
The biggest piece of evidence they had was the hat.
It would put police on the trail of a serial predator.
He had been committing similar crimes.
The dedicated team of investigators vowed never to rest until they found the key to cracking the case.
It's been a game changer, really. It's pretty amazing what we can do.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to San Diego, California. It was here that 61-year-old Frank Botts, a well-respected shop owner and father of 3, was viciously stabbed to death in his own store. The boldness of the crime was even more unsettling and left the entire community on edge. No one knew for certain if it had been a targeted attack or if the ruthless killer would strike again.
Saturday, April 2nd, 1:30 p.m. It was a beautiful spring afternoon over 4 decades ago when customers shopping at a local mall made a horrific discovery inside Frank Botts' gift store.
Some customers came in and there was no one to wait on them. So that's what eventually prompted them to go to the back room and find Frank's body. The people didn't necessarily check his pulse or anything, but you could tell he was dead. He was still, he didn't move.
The terrified customers immediately notified police, and within minutes, officers raced into the store.
He was in the back office. He was face down on top of a box. He was obviously dead.
Could the officers tell how he had died?
You could obviously see that he'd been stabbed several times.
Detectives scanned the store for clues.
His wallet was gone, money was missing, money clip was missing.
It looked as if the attack had started and ended in the back room of the store.
Several boxes were overturned, papers were strewn about.
Officers continued scanning the scene.
They also found something very interesting. They found a hat that apparently was discarded by the back door.
What did the hat look like?
Kind of a tam o'shanter style hat that had been left behind at the scene of the crime.
It was like a cap, like you might see on a golfer or something similar. Not the usual type of hat that, like a baseball cap that people would wear.
Detectives swept the front of the shop for any evidence.
There was also a cash drawer. The cash register was open. Money was gone. And actually there were a couple of checks in the cash drawer that had a partial bloody fingerprint.
Investigators hoped they would be a crucial piece of evidence.
Now we know obviously that had to have occurred after Mr. Botts was stabbed. If we could identify that print, obviously we'd know who probably the killer is.
On the glass display case, forensic specialists located another fingerprint that didn't belong to Frank Botts.
It was a partial fingerprint.
And why did that print stand out to investigators?
It was on the top of a glass cabinet at the far end of the shop, which is not where a customer would normally go.
The autopsy report brought the tragedy of the crime front and center.
Mr. Botts was stabbed about 8 times, and at least one of the stab wounds went into his heart, penetrated his heart.
It was clear the 61-year-old Marine Corps veteran had struggled with his killer.
There were stab wounds on both the front and the back. There were also defensive wounds on one of the hands.
How violent was the fight that led to Frank's murder?
It was extremely vicious because of the number of stab wounds. And it's unlike TV, you don't just drop down and die. It takes several minutes to bleed out. I'm sure he was frightened, and I'm sure he fought hard to save his life.
Detectives fanned out to find if anyone had heard the attack.
We don't have any reports of yelling, fighting, things like that.
Police believe the killer had used an alleyway to escape without being seen.
What's interesting is there was a little service corridor behind Frank Bott's shop, and it was not open to the public, but it did, it facilitated deliveries, things like that.
Based on the small amount of money that had been taken, detectives weren't convinced the crime had been a robbery gone wrong.
We're definitely not talking about any amount that would be worth taking somebody's life. I think he had a $50 money clip. He had some money on his person, and then there was maybe another 100 or 200 in the cash register. The checks weren't taken. So, you're talking an infinitesimal loss.
Which made authorities have to consider an ominous possibility that Frank Botts knew his killer.
The evidence was so strong of a robbery. Maybe the suspect pulled a knife and forced him to go in the back of the room.
"61-year-old Frank Botts had been stabbed to death in his gift shop at College Grove Shopping Center. The married father of 3 grown children had been a beloved member of the community.
Mr. Botts was the kind of person that every community needs, and he was very active in his community. I mean, the list goes on and on. He was just really an upstanding guy. There's just not enough good things you can say about this man.
Owning his own store had always been a dream of his, and Frank took pride in his work.
It was just a gift shop. It sold trinkets, knickknacks, things like that. I think it was a secondary source of income for him, along with probably his pension from the military. And he was well known among all the shop owners. He was just a nice guy.
The store was situated in a busy section of the shopping center.
It's multi-level. I'd say 60, 70 shops maybe. Mr. Botts was right next to a bank. He was on the lower level.
Due to the small amount of money the killer had taken, investigators wondered if the scene had been staged to make it look as if Frank's death had been the result of a botched robbery. Detectives theorized the 61-year-old shop owner had been targeted, and they focused in on those closest to him.
What they did was the good old-fashioned knock on doors, talk to people.
They questioned family, friends, and former coworkers looking for a lead.
They went through about 50 to 60 names.
But after an intense investigation, detectives were unable to find anyone who would have wanted to harm Frank.
He had no known enemies. Everybody liked him. He didn't gamble. He didn't owe anybody any money.
So where did that leave the investigation?
Well, the investigators in this case didn't really have even a starting point.
But now police became convinced that Frank had tragically lost his life over just a few $100s.
The evidence was so strong of a robbery.
News of this senseless attack alarmed the community.
Things like this just didn't happen in 1977. They were very unusual. San Diego is basically a small town that got really big. Even today, we're still low crime. But this particular incident definitely stood out.
And a witness quickly came forward with a tip.
We have one witness who apparently saw him talking to a very young African-American male around 1 o'clock.
Detectives asked the witness for a detailed description of the suspect.
The witness described a young African-American male, and we're talking about late teens, even mid-teens maybe, average height and weight.
The witness also reported the suspect had been wearing a distinct gray cap.
It was kind of a longshoreman's type hat. That's the way you would best describe it. It was like a cap, like you might see on a golfer or something similar.
The hat had turned into a promising clue.
The biggest piece of evidence they had was the hat.
So they knew that this was something that didn't belong there. It was something they felt that the perpetrator was wearing during the commission of this crime. And so certainly anything left behind from a suspect is something that we really want to take a close look at.
Images of the hat were released to the media.
They actually featured that in the newspaper to try to solicit tips from the public.
Police worked overtime to run down the lead.
The officers put in a considerable amount of work to track down the manufacturer, the distributor, and about how many hats were sold in the San Diego area going a few months back.
Meanwhile, they compared the prints left at the scene to numerous suspects.
They tested a number of suspects, all local creeps and robbers and people with criminal histories.
It was a grueling investigation.
It consisted of taking those prints and comparing them to all the prints at the scene. That's a very laborious process, and it takes a long time. But I would say that these investigators hit this case very hard. They put a ton of work into it. They just didn't have the right info to close it.
So at that point, what did law enforcement need to push the case forward?
They had to have, back then, a suspect to compare the print to. They couldn't just put it into a computer like we can nowadays.
The investigation slowly reached a standstill.
It's like a fire, it kind of dies through lack of oxygen. They ran out of fingerprints to check. They couldn't come up with any more suspects. There were no more leads.
Detectives had to consider a troubling possibility that Frank's killer might remain a free man.
They do one horrible, heinous crime and then they stop and they blend back into society. They're your neighbor. They go to church with you. They are in the grocery store next to you. And we're getting those people now that we never were able to get before because they only do it once.
But the hunt for a killer would put officers in harm's way.
This individual was actually shot by police during the commission of a very similar crime.
As a cop, I've always thought that bad guys are bad guys and they never quit.
As the years went by, a new team of investigators took a close look at Frank Bott's unsolved homicide.
When you examined Frank's case, did you develop a theory of how the crime unfolded?
We don't really know. Obviously, at some point, he was in the front office and he ended up in the back. So maybe the suspect pulled a knife and forced him to go in the back of the room. Maybe the suspect went back there and Frank followed him back there. We just don't know.
With crucial advances in DNA technology, they looked to the unique hat left behind at the scene.
My goal is to try to collect any DNA that might be present inside the hat from the person who was wearing that item. And in this case, I had a discussion with the investigator, and my understanding was testing had already been conducted using those traditional methods, and they weren't able to get enough DNA to do a comparison or get the profile into a database.
Detective Ryan found a new system called MVAC that had been transforming forensic science.
How exactly does the MVAC system work?
An MVAC is a wet vacuum DNA collection instrument. Kind of like if you wanted to get your carpet clean, you might vacuum the carpet, and that's going to pick up some items. But if you really wanted to deep clean it, you'd use a steam cleaner. Well, the MVAC is kind of like that steam cleaner.
She analyzed the hat for the killer's DNA.
I'm trying to collect any of the DNA from the inner band of the hat along with inside the hat.
Did it provide you with a DNA profile?
In the end, what I found was there was a partial DNA profile. That means instead of getting results at all 24 areas that I'm looking at, I only obtained, a portion or a part of those, probably due to the low level of DNA or the degradation.
It was a disappointing setback, but investigators had another tool at their fingertips.
There's also a brand new tool called AFIS, Automated Fingerprint Identification System, that allows us to check fingerprints. And it's extremely sensitive. It's basically a high-powered computer that checks all unknown prints against massive databases, federal, state, local.
They entered all of the unknown fingerprints left at the scene into the database, and one print in particular led them to a name.
The hit was on a glass towards the back of the shop, and the hit came back to a man named Norman Jones.
Investigators dug into Jones' background.
He had a long, lengthy criminal history of various crimes, auto theft, burglary, and in particular, he seemed to like shopping centers as his primary targets. So obviously, he looks like a good suspect to us. We just have to develop a little bit more physical evidence to tie him into the case.
Detectives learned as a serial robber, Norman Lamont Jones had spent most of his life in and out of jail, but his crime spree came to an end when he was killed in an officer-involved shooting.
He committed a robbery at the Fashion Valley Mall and got about $1,000. And because it takes a while to get from the store to your getaway car, police were able to respond. They surrounded him. They told him to put his gun down. He didn't. And he got shot about 15 times.
The DNA evidence from the Fashion Mall robbery had been submitted into evidence.
Because it was an officer-involved shooting, that evidence was saved. So we had the clothing that he wore the night he was shot and killed. And on that clothing was a lot of blood. We were able to take that blood from the shirt and the clothing and use that as a reference sample for his DNA.
And when they compared Jones' DNA to the profile found on the hat, it was also a match.
It was definitely his hat. And we also found some of his DNA under Frank's fingernails.
Detectives were disappointed they would never be able to question Norman Jones about that fateful afternoon when Frank Botts lost his life.
It would be nice to know how he planned it, how he thought he would execute it, anything else.
It was an emotional moment when detectives shared the news with Frank's family.
They were very happy that they were able to, number one, that they were able to finally know what happened. And number two, they were very grateful that we didn't give up on the case. Even decades later, it shows that we care, that the department's working for them.
I think it's pretty amazing what we can do with DNA now.
Armed with Norman Jones' fingerprints and DNA, detectives examined every unsolved homicide in the San Diego area, trying to connect him to another violent attack. But so far, they have been unable to link him to any other crime. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. One of the best security measures a business owner can take is installing an alarm system and video surveillance. Oftentimes, just seeing a camera or a sign that they are on the premises is enough to deter criminals. And if you are robbed, safety experts recommend you try to avoid engaging in a physical confrontation if at all possible. And finally, check with your local security system provider. Most offer free security assessments. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.
He was the most popular guy in town after winning a $30 million jackpot.
Abraham used a lot of his winnings to pay for rents, groceries, vehicles, anything that anybody needed in the community.
But did it all get to be too much?
He was tired of people coming to him.
I started to receive calls in the newsroom. Abraham hasn't been seen in a long time.
Had he just walked away from it all? Or had he become the victim of foul play?
He felt something was awry, something was wrong.
What did she hear when she picked up the phone?
The voice on the other end of the line said, "Hey Mom, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me."
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Lakeland, Florida, a community just east of Tampa. When a $30 million lottery winner disappeared one day, rumors around town began to swirl. Everyone wanted to know if he had simply walked away from his life or if the unthinkable had happened.
It was November the 9th when the Polk County Sheriff's Office got a call from a man named Cedric Edom. He was worried about his cousin, Abraham Shakespeare. No one had seen or heard from him in months.
What did Cedric tell police?
He felt something was awry, something was wrong, that his cousin Abraham Shakespeare was possibly missing or maybe victim of foul play of some sort.
Abraham was well known in the area. He had become a local celebrity after winning a lotto jackpot 3 years earlier.
You know, Abraham Shakespeare won, I think it was like a $30.4 million sum in 2006. He had accepted the payout, which after taxes came away with over $17 million from the Florida lottery.
His rags to riches story made headlines. Reporter Marissa Green interviewed him after he won.
We talked about what he did with his winnings, and he said that he bought a used BMW. He paid $1 million for a house in North Lakeland, but he said that the money didn't change him because he still picked up pennies off the ground and he ate at his local Denny's.
Abraham said he didn't need much and was happy to share his winnings with the people in his community.
Abraham used a lot of his winnings to pay for rents, groceries, vehicles, anything that anybody needed in the community. It didn't matter if you knew Abraham or not.
Abraham quickly began spending the money at a rapid pace. Detectives say he was a simple man who never graduated from high school and didn't know how to manage his new fortune.
By him being illiterate, in my opinion, he was way too generous with his winnings because he didn't realize how much he was giving away.
And the more he gave away, the more people wanted. His phone never stopped ringing.
He said that he changed his number several times, and he also described to me how there was a long line of people waiting outside of his mother's house, trying to knock on the door, looking for him, trying to ask him for money.
He was tired of people coming to him. As any lottery winner, they're known in their community or known around, family and friends and so forth. You're going to have those individuals come and ask for money and for loans.
Investigators learned that Abraham had finally gotten financial counseling and was told he would have nothing left unless he loaned out his money instead of just giving it away.
Abraham had set up an agreement with a lot of people that he loaned money to, that, hey, if I give you this money, you have to pay it back.
And that's when the real frustration started.
Abraham had a difficult time getting people to pay up.
Police say Abraham felt as if he were being taken advantage of and became estranged from family and friends. Detectives began looking at the people who owed him money, and one name quickly caught their attention: his cousin Cedric, the one who had reported him missing.
What was the arrangement Abraham had with Cedric?
He purchased a home for his cousin. He didn't just buy it outright. He wanted to be paid back. The home was paid free and clear, but there was an agreement for Cedric to pay Abraham so much money a month until he paid the house off.
With Abraham missing, Cedric was off the hook. Detectives say it seemed like a good motive to want him gone.
He was looked at as a possible person of interest, as were many others that benefited from Abraham Shakespeare's lottery winnings.
But there was no evidence that Cedric or the others were involved in anything, and detectives weren't even sure a crime had been committed. The only thing anyone knew was that Abraham Shakespeare had vanished into thin air.
I was also being told about this blonde white woman who had befriended Abraham.
Abraham Shakespeare, the local lottery winner, was once again making headlines. But this time it was because police were investigating him as a missing person.
I started to receive calls in the newsroom. Marissa, Abraham hasn't been seen in a long time. And I heard everything from he was dying from AIDS in a Miami hospital, to he went to the Caribbean to live, to nobody had any contact with him, including his family, his own mother.
Police started digging through Abraham's cell phone history for clues and were shocked at what they discovered. For more than 2 years, he would answer hundreds of calls every single day, but all the conversations suddenly stopped after April the 9th. The only communication Abraham had after that date was with a local businesswoman named Dee Moore. Police learned that she was the one who was giving him financial advice and had begun helping him collect on his loans after he felt betrayed by his friends and family.
He met Dee Moore at a minority contractor conference. From there, a friendship grew, and she called herself trying to help Abraham and guard him from a lot of the people who, quote unquote, was leeching off of him from his winnings.
Police brought Dee in for questioning. She seemed shocked that Cedric had reported Abraham missing. She said he was alive and well and just wanted to be left alone.
So was she actually still in touch with him?
She said that she could send him a message. He just wanted to get away. He got tired of people pestering him for money.
Before she left, Dee pulled out her phone in front of the detectives and texted Abraham, asking him to call police and let them know he was okay. Days passed, but he never reached out. More rumors began circulating about his disappearance and his relationship with Dee.
I was also being told about this blonde white woman who had befriended Abraham, and people were telling me these stories about Dee. All of a sudden, I got a call out of the blue from Dee herself.
Dee said she wanted to set the record straight about Abraham leaving town and how she got involved in his life. She agreed to come in for an interview with the paper.
So before you even met him, he'd already burned through $11 million, and a lot of that was in loans to family and friends.
Yeah, most of them were people he knew in the past, friends. They passed his number around to everybody. Everybody and their brother was coming to him. They had cars lined up outside till he woke up, no matter what time of day.
Investigators say at first, Abraham liked the attention, but he soon got tired of everyone in his inner circle taking advantage of him.
He would give somebody a loan, and before they even got it paid off, they would come back for another loan. 95% would not pay him back. What upset him is when he went to try to get it back, they would say stuff like, "Get off my property, take me to court."
Dee said Abraham was sick of it all, and that before he left, he handed her control of his finances. She promised him she would track down the money and get the people to pay it back. She said that's why she believed Cedric reported Abraham as missing.
Cedric knew why he left, and he knew he told him he wanted to get away. Cedric knew he owed for his house loan. And if he tied me up, then I would be under investigation. Then everybody's little things would go away. They wouldn't have to worry about paying anybody.
The story came out, but did little to take suspicion away from Dee Moore. Police called her in for another interview. This time she said that Abraham wasn't responding to her either, but she wanted to show them something to prove she was telling the truth. It was a video she shot in April, the last time she saw him.
So where you want to go to?
It don't matter to me. I'm not a picky person. But really,
Do you get tired of people asking you for money all the time, Abe?
I've been tired a year ago.
The voice on the other end of the line said, "Hey Mom, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me."
Videotape seemed to confirm exactly what Dee Moore had been saying all along about Abraham Shakespeare's disappearance.
And the video was very convincing. It sounded like he was making his escape to get away from everybody, where nobody could find him again and he could just live peacefully.
The video was dated April the 9th, the last day Abraham's phone was active with his normal volume of calls. And even though it all seemed to match up, detectives now knew for sure that Dee was the last one to see Abraham that day. So they pulled her phone records as a last step in clearing her. What they discovered was shocking. Every single communication between the two after that date showed their phones in the same exact location. Investigators knew that that could only mean one thing.
She actually had possession of his cell phone.
Investigators say Dee Dee had lied to detectives when she pretended to text Abraham in front of them. She had been so convincing, investigators could no longer believe anything she said. But since they had nothing to tie her to his disappearance, they had to tread lightly. They say instead of confronting her, they came up with a plan to trap her.
Law enforcement, they realized something wasn't right here.
Detectives asked Dee Dee for her help. They told her that Abraham's mother needed her son to call for the holidays and hoped she could make it happen. The day after Christmas, Abraham's mother called police to say she had finally heard from her son.
The voice on the other end of the line said, "Hey Mom, I'm okay. You don't have to worry about me."
She said it didn't sound like her son, but told her that he had a cold. Investigators believed it was not Abraham. They traced the number to a man named Greg Smith and started tracking his location. He was in Lakeland at the mall, so they headed there to confront him.
What did detectives see when they got to the mall?
They observed Dee Moore pull in with her vehicle to a parking spot. Greg Smith got out of his vehicle. They were talking in her vehicle for a while.
When Dee Dee left, detectives surrounded Greg Smith's car and confronted him about the phone call to Abraham's mom.
They gave Greg a choice. It's either you play on our team or you play on her team and go to jail.
Greg admitted he made the call and said Dee Dee paid him to do it. He swore he didn't know where Abraham was, but he was willing to help police find out.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office detectives and Greg Smith came up with a plan to set up Dee Moore and elicit some type of information or evidence that she was in fact involved with the disappearance, possibly the murder of Abraham Shakespeare.
Greg told Dee Dee that he knew something had happened to Abraham, but that he wanted to help her get out of any trouble she may be in.
He was describing, I know somebody who's getting ready to go to prison for life, and he wants to have his family taken care of. If you agree to pay $50,000 to his family, he'll take the rap for the murder.
Dee Dee agreed and asked to meet the man.
Little did Dee Moore know that this individual who was allegedly going to go to prison and take the rap was an undercover law enforcement officer that posed as an individual facing a prison sentence.
During the conversation with the undercover officer, Dee Dee admitted Abraham had been shot and was buried on property she owned in another county.
Dee Moore explained exactly where Abraham Shakespeare was buried under this concrete slab. She was even so specific that they would need to dig at an angle to about a depth of 9 feet to recover his remains.
Dee Moore was arrested and taken into custody while investigators went to her property to search for Abraham's body.
We all met at that site and began the process of exhuming the human remains of Abraham Shakespeare. It encompassed breaking up this 900 square foot concrete pad, removing the concrete, and we found a shaft and an anomaly that appeared to be a grave. And so we knew to definitely target that area and began hand digging.
It took 3 days, like when Jesus rose from the dead in 3 days, so did Abraham Shakespeare's body. On that third day, authorities said they found the body.
Dee Moore was charged with first-degree murder, but continued to insist she had nothing to do with Abraham's death.
The truth is you had something to do with it, and now it's time for you to tell the truth about what happened.
I'm telling you the truth and you don't want to listen.
No.
You don't care. No, you don't. You don't want the truth. You want your side. You want your drama. You want your belief.
Even though Dee Dee refused to confess, the evidence against her kept piling up. Not only was the body positively identified as Abraham Shakespeare, but he had been shot twice in the chest with a gun registered to her. And there was more.
He was wearing the same clothes that he had on in the video that Dee Moore distributed to everybody, saying that this was all a part of an elaborate scheme to help Abraham legitimately disappear, so nobody would pester him for money.
3 years after Abraham Shakespeare went missing and was murdered, Dee Moore stood trial as his accused killer.
This all came down to simple greed. I think Dee Moore liked to have the nice things in life, and I think she saw an opportunity to target Abraham Shakespeare and take advantage of him. And that's exactly what she did. She was able to manipulate everybody else around him to kind of go along with her plan of taking control of what money he had left from those lottery winnings.
The prosecution argued that after Dee took control of Abraham's money, she started spending it on herself, and Abraham became suspicious.
When Abraham no longer had access to his money, he wanted to know, why can't I access my account? So Dee needed to do something, and her only option in her mind was to kill Abraham.
Prosecutors said Dee had come up with a detailed plan on not only how to kill him, but how to cover her track.
Dee Moore had filmed Abraham Shakespeare for the last time, where he was purporting that he was tired of giving money, the handouts, the loans. He just wanted to get away for a while. So at that point, she was setting up his disappearance, creating her alibi, if you will.
Investigators say she then lured him to her Plant City property, telling him that she was keeping cash inside a safe in her office. He had no idea it was a gun safe.
It is believed that she retrieved the firearm from this safe and shot Abraham Shakespeare while he was seated in a chair in the main office of this residence.
Prosecutors said she then dragged his body into a hole she had already dug in the ground, filled dirt on top, and had a contractor pour a concrete slab to seal Abraham's body underneath. That she lied and schemed just to keep her dark secret.
She spent a lot of his money, illegally took over his house, his holdings, everything essentially that he owned, right from underneath him. And there was nothing he could do about it, but she figured by him being so suspicious that this could end up very badly for her. So her only option was to kill him.
Dee Moore was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. To help maximize both your financial and physical safety, vet any financial advisor before giving them access to your finances. Check their references and ensure they operate under a fiduciary duty. To research the background and experience of financial brokers and advisors, you can go to brokercheck.finra.org or call 1-800-289-9999. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.